Gonna do it in. They come and running just as fast as they can. Cause every girl crazy about the short dress man. I'm fucking with this song. It's called Sharp Dress Man. Do you guys hear the music? Y'all hear the music? Let me pump this in here. Hold on. Top hat. I don't worry cause my wallet's fat. Alright. I'm pumped. I am pumped up today. Alright. Welcome to the breakdown. Episode 550. 550. Sponsored and powered by Gemini. And of course powered by GNN, the Gongxi News Network. We're going to go straight to the man who, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think he was in the Amazon, so we're going to bring him right in. He was in that. I seen pictures. And here he is. Hey. Oh, my God. That brings back memories. Hey.
How you doing?
What's going on? How's everything?
You're looking sharp, man, like a sharp-dressed man or something.
There you go. know. That's why I played this. Somebody appreciates this song.
Not only do I appreciate that song, I interviewed Billy Gibbons once.
Really?
Yes, I just in the private chat put the link. 42-minute interview, me chilling with Billy Gibbons. We talk about NFTs. We talk about crypto. I love ZZ Top. They're a great band.
That is dope. That is dope. I love this song. I can I don't know. I can drive with the top down. Oops, kind of gave it away. But I can drive with the top down and blast this, especially with 70 degrees outside. All right, look. I have some questions for you, but first, what the hell? What the fuck were you doing?
I went to the Amazon. I did the bullet ants.
I was scared for your life.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Did you? Okay, hold on. If there was no because I've seen videos where like people go into the Amazon and like there are tribes looking at them like food. So I don't know. How was how was this experience, Charles?
Dude.
Did you have fun?
Oh, I had a fucking blast. You know, I went down to the Amazon and I walked in there like it's such a scary, evil jungle. It's trying to murder me. And I became one with the jungle. So by the end of it, I was like night spear fishing in a canoe, you know, pitch black. And you got the Jesus spiders. That's what we call them because they're spiders that walk on the surface of the water. And they're big fucking spiders, man. I got a picture of the Jesus spider. Let me show you. It's just so you turn on your lamp, you just look over like spiders are walking on the water. You're like, oh God, I am not safe in this canoe at all. I need adult supervision. But pink dolphins, snakes in the trees. Yeah, here we go. Check that shit out.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, it's just like just walking on the water.
Are those the spiders that make like the webs in the middle of the rivers and shit?
Yeah.
To catch their
Yeah, and then they get on your clothing, you know, so there's that.
I'd be out. Get me the Black Hawk. I'm out.
Oh my God. So let me tell you about the bullet ant.
Go ahead.
The Tukandera, you know. So you show up, you meet the tribe, and they kind of size you up, and they're like, "Are you a real man or not? We don't know." So you have to kind of convince them. And then after they size you up, they're like, "All right, we're gonna go collect some ants." And so you go out and you have to go find some bullet ants, and so their hives are around these certain types of trees. And what you do is you take a machete, you open up the hive, and then you take a machete and kind of pound the side of the tree, and the vibrations wake up the hive. And so all the ants go fucking crazy. They just start running up. The bullet ants are goddamn huge. They're just massive.
Yeah.
This big. So you grab a stick, a pointy stick, and then you have like a palm tree that's hollowed out, and you put the stick in the hive, and the bullet ants start stinging the stick, and then you kind of put it inside the thing and, you know, tap it. Actually, Chelsea, bring in the bullet ant glove. Thank you so much. Then you got to go find a very specific leaf that acts as a sedative for the bullet ants. And so you grind it up, and you kind of stir it, and then you take your tube filled with ants, and then you pour the ants inside the sedative, and they go to sleep. And why they don't drown, I don't know. But then you take the ants and you weave them into the bullet ant glove. And so here's the bullet ant glove. I actually brought it back with me, and you can see those are actual bullet ants woven into the glove. So I had to weave it, and I'll show you the stingers inside. So, you know, those are the stingers. And so you weave them into the glove with their heads out, stingers in, just like that. And then you basically go rest for an hour, and you eat lunch while you're thinking like, this is the worst idea in the world. What the hell am I doing? And then after that, you go and you actually get your hands painted, and then you go and you put your hands down, and they put the gloves on, and they sing for 8 minutes, and you're getting stung the entire time while they're singing, and it's just so horrible. And of course, I didn't want to look like a pussy, you know. It's like, so I saw these videos of people getting stung by bullet ants. Oh God, it's so painful, it hurts. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be stoic, motherfucker. So I was all psyched in, and I've been practicing for months. What I did is I have these nail boards that actually have really sharp nails, and I stand on them, and I learned all these hypnosis techniques to not feel pain. So I stood on the boards for about 10 minutes, and I just tried to get into the zone where I could just like deal with the pain of standing on the boards. So actually that worked really well for the bullet ant ceremony. So they stung and stung and stung. And after 8 minutes, you know, dancing, they take the gloves off. the other guys I was with, they went ahead and did it. They're all special forces guys, and so they had to be macho, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can do this. Yeah, Green Beret, Ranger Battalion,
Yeah.
Navy SEAL, yeah." So they went through it, and then the worst part was about an hour later because the pain just kept building and building, and it radiates. It's kind of like a wow, wah, like that thing. And every time it's wah, it's being set on fire. And it just moves down the arm, gets into your chest. You feel the chest pain. You start sweating profusely and you're like, this is such a bad deal. But yeah, we got through it within 6 hours. Pain went away, and I said, you know what? I think we're jungle warriors now. And then every day we just upped the ante. We said, all right, you know what? Now that we did the bullet ants, we're gonna go find some caimans and anacondas. We're gonna deal with Jesus spiders. We were going out in the middle of the night in canoes, just like in pitch black, fucking spear fishing, which is crazy because you sneak up on the fish, they're sleeping, and just go sha with a spear, and you get them. We got 3 fish, we got there, and then we slept in the jungle overnight, and you hear the jaguars just kind of go like ar ar, and you're like, oh yeah, they could probably eat us. That's fun. But
That's
9
fucking
days in the
wild.
jungle, man. 9
Hold
days.
on. Okay, because I want to stick on this story
Yeah.
because the pictures are, I seen you, putting the fucking bullet ants on the, I don't know, that glove, I guess you can call it
Yeah.
the catcher's mitt.
The
It's-
love
it's-
glove right here. Yeah, the oven mitt of doom. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, and then I said, what dance were you doing? What was this dance called? Is there a name for this dance that you were
It
doing? Was that
well,
JJ with you, by the way? Was that
no,
JJ?
no, 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 it wasn't Jay. I offered JJ to come, and he's like, "Oh, no, man, I got some very important commercial things I have to do. I have to go to Europe. I'm going to Ibiza for a thing. I'm going to Paris for another thing." I'm like, "Okay."
JJ's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm not going to no fucking Amazon jungle. You can appreciate that. No, so no actual name for the dance. You're just to me, it looked like you were. It looked like in one of the pictures you were in pain, or you were just breathing in a way where you were just taking this shit on,
I fucking hurt, man. It just hurts. It just hurts.
and it
But
doesn't stop, right?
but it just doesn't stop and it hurts and you're just like, damn it. But you can't look like it hurts. You have to be stoic. And so I was like the fat guy. I had my oven mitts on. I'm like, we're gonna make some dinner. And I get my hands on. I'm like, we're gonna look good. We're gonna look good.
They're like strong American,
Right.
probably
Strong
in their
American. They're like,
language.
yeah, we like this guy. He's tough. He's tough. He's a tough
This
guy.
guy's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't even do this stuff, and this guy took it on. This is great. This is
Yeah.
good. We experimented with this. Look, he survived.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, that's really cool. That's living the life. That's living a life and experiencing life. So that's cool. Let me give you. Let me do that. I don't know what you're drinking there. Maybe bullet ants, but
Yeah, we
that's
grind them
cool.
up and put them in the coffee.
What else was interesting out there? Like what did you do that you out of the whole experience, like you took away after you going back, obviously back home, and saying like, that was a really cool experience. That
How
moment.
well integrated I got into the jungle was surprising. Like, everything in the jungle has kind of like an ebb and flow about it.
Yeah.
Like we learned how to climb the vines. I mean, these guides were so experienced. He went and like cut a leaf and he turned it into a rope. And then he tied it around his feet and used it as a brake to climb up a tree like 60 feet and grab a coconut and come down. Or Brazil nut or whatever the fuck. And we're just like, what the fuck? I mean, everything in the jungle you can do something with. And no matter what you got, it's like that plant over there treats yellow fever. And that plant over there treats diarrhea. And that plant gives you diarrhea. And that's poison. And that can kill you if you want to. So everything in the jungle has got like a flow to it. And after
Yeah.
spending 9 days, we started acclimating to it. So we started understanding the flow, understanding the noises. And it was crazy. It's like I could actually smell snakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a python. Or the big one are the howler monkeys. You can hear them. The birds, the toucans, and the macaws. These things. The parrots are always paired. You hear one, you expect to hear the other one. And you get into that rhythm and you get into that flow. And I was even picking up spiders and things like that. Let me show you this. He's like, this, you know which spiders you can pick up and they're not going to attack you. And you know which spiders are. But I got this great picture where a tarantula just kind of came into the boat and we're like, oh hey, little guy. Yeah, here we go. So there's me. I'm like,
Wow.
hey buddy.
Hey, little guy.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
little buddy.
yeah. There.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would have been. Well, I don't know. I would have had no other choice. I would have been stoic when you would have picked that shit up. Uh, well, you said something about just now, like that cures yellow fever and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I want to ask you before we move on, but I like this topic. Do they have? Were you able to sit down with them and really? Uh, everybody says there are cures in the Amazon jungle,
Yeah.
like that we
So
don't even know about.
every plant has a medicinal property, and no matter what you have, they have a plant for it. They have cancer plant, yellow fever plant, antibiotic plant, these things. And I actually tested it. I hurt my leg when I was down there. When I was getting into one of the skiffs, the wave came and the boat got a little higher, and I smashed my leg against it and skinned my leg.
Yeah.
And a wound like that probably get infected. And they say, "Oh no, 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 no! There's this tree right here, and you put the sap on it, and it'll like heal your leg." And I put the sap on, and leg didn't get infected. The wound closed up. There's some really legit jungle medicine there that we don't really know a lot about. So I'm definitely going to go back with some doctors and some chemists, and we're going to collect a lot of samples because there's some things that I was very interested in. Like there's one leaf you can use to make gunpowder. It actually has the same effect as gunpowder, but it's an organic gunpowder. And I said, "Holy shit, that is very valuable." So there's all kinds of stuff there that blew my mind. And what was great was that the jungle guides, all the people we're with, they're like super well adapted and they just understand the flow of everything. So no matter what you did, what you pointed to, they'd be like, "Oh, that thing over there does this, and this thing over there does that." You couldn't stump them. And they like I said, "Hey, you ever see Predator? They have the water vine." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's that over there. But you don't cut that one; that'll kill you. But this one's great." It's just like we can cut it, and drink from the water vine.
Do they speak well, I'm sure they don't speak English, but they have somebody there
Yeah, well, the
or a
guy
few
the guy
people.
that we had, he spoke English,
Okay.
Portuguese, and like 4 different languages, native languages in the Amazon, because there's, hundreds of, tongues that
Yeah.
are there, but, yeah, they all speak different languages.
It's so weird that, like, we have I really do believe in this. I know people I talk to people about this and they think I'm psychotic, but I'm like, I I mean, it's been proven that I think there are medicines and cures out in the jungle that I don't know, maybe big pharma has their hands on it, but they don't want to give anybody, you know, any clue about
Right,
there possibly being a cure to something
right,
versus them giving you something to cure your symptoms and not an actually cure for the actual disease that you're experiencing. That's cool. I hope you get into that. Really, seriously, that is something that I've talked about a lot. Back 4 years ago, had a podcast. Had some I forgot his name. I had a guy come on and we spoke about that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
I want to move on to your your video is going viral.
Which one?
Your clip about Ethereum is going viral. Where you said that it will die in the next 10 to 15 years. Now I know how things can get clipped up, but I know you're a straight shooter. So I'll ask it on this program. What do you think? Because there are a lot of people, and I've even gotten into these discussions on Spaces. People are wondering when is Ethereum going to do something. People are looking at the number. Um, some people don't hear anything from Ethereum, so they don't think Ethereum is working. That's been echoed by a lot of people.
Right.
What is exactly happening with the Ethereum Foundation? What is happening with Ethereum? And do you really is that quote real or was it edited where you believe that they will be extinct in the next 10 to
Well,
15
it
years?
was about a 4.5 minute analysis, and I
Yeah.
was asked, "What would I do if I was in charge of Ethereum Foundation?" And I said, "They made 3 big mistakes with Ethereum, and they're paying, huge consequences for those mistakes." They bet wrong on consensus, they bet wrong on their development model, and they bet wrong on governance. And these 3 things, they're trying really hard to correct that, but the issue is the things they did to correct that either force more centralization around the Ethereum Foundation or this parasitic layer 2 ecosystem where they kind of suck users, transactions, value from the chain, and they can leave at any time and go other places. So it's like a mosquito landing on you, sucks a lot of stuff out. It's like if you're gonna fly away and go somewhere else. So it's not really adding any value to your ecosystem. So there's ways to fix it. Like Vitalik wants to go to RISC-V, and I think if they combine that with like a SWI style object model and they change their consensus algorithm to what SWI has with like Narwhal and Tusk, I think they have a huge leg up there. But they also still have this issue of coordination, and it's getting harder and harder and harder for them to coordinate upgrades to the ecosystem, and it's less clear what to do and where to go. And they seem to be just doing a smorgasbord of things like, oh, privacy matters now. Okay, well, that's really complicated. And we're working very hard with Midnight to show how to do that in a way that is compatible with the institutional world. You can't just graft it on to Ethereum. It's not like a small commitment. Just like if we just tried to graft it onto Cardano or something like that.
Yeah.
And they always want to talk about all these things like UTXO or whatever, but they're not really prepared for it. So their issue is that they're getting chipped away at by Solana and SWI and Aptos and these other things. And the metrics you really look for are not the projects they currently have, but where are people building that are new projects?
Yeah.
And the majority of new projects are building outside of the Ethereum ecosystem. And we saw this with Windows. They have a monopoly. They didn't lose their monopoly, but just shit grew around them, like Android and iOS. And when stuff grew around them, then suddenly people said, I don't actually deploy my app on Windows. I'm going to deploy it iOS first and then Android. And then maybe we'll do a Windows port if there's enough demand. And that was inconceivable in 1990s. In 1999, you had to be Windows first. It's like you were insane if you had any other strategy. And that's really what's happening with Ethereum is people are saying like, well, maybe we'll build like a bridge to it or something like that. But little by little, they're being chipped out. And where all your liquidity is probably going to be Bitcoin DeFi and stuff like that, that's not going to go to Ethereum. It's going to go to places like Cardano, maybe Solana, but it's not going to go to Ethereum. And so they don't really have a good strategy for how to stop the bleed. They don't have a consolidated technical roadmap. They don't have a governance system to help them organize the ecosystem in a way to get around it outside of just having a key man, in this case, Vitalik. And there's no real compelling reason to use Ethereum other than the fact it's large and it's got a lot of stuff going on because it's not cost competitive against Solana or SWI or these other things. So they're kind of a victim of their own success. And it's just like you see the same with MySpace or BlackBerry or any of these guys where they have first mover momentum, but the trends are showing that they're slowing down. And I don't see anything in the roadmap that would indicate that they have a way to reverse that momentum. And they're just going to keep going and lose market share year after year, and they're going to be in a pretty dire state. So if you extrapolate it over a 10, 15-year period, these protocols never die, but it won't be relevant. It'll just be like Windows, where it kind of really loses its relevancy and it becomes a niche thing. And that was the context of the statement. Now, of course, people take it, they blow it up, they talk about it, and they instantly don't listen to what I'm saying. They just say Charles is sour grapes and he's a bad guy, and Charles an idiot, and he's a scammer or whatever, and they just attack me. They're like, okay, great. Do you want to have a conversation at all about any of the facts that I've laid on the table about the consensus model being wrong with bonding and slashing, the very fact your founders telling you that they have to move from the EVM, they got it wrong there.
Yeah.
The just Hail Mary pivots to privacy and other things that don't really make a lot of sense. The layer 2 ecosystem parasitically sucking them out. The new dApp volume, less than 50% are being deployed on Ethereum. The heavy competition from Solana and SWI and other places. The rise of Bitcoin DeFi, these types of things. Do you want to address any of that? Or the lack of on-chain governance where your founder says that it's a bad idea to do on-chain governance. Okay, so it's hard. We're going through it right now with Cardano. It's very tough. But it doesn't mean you don't do it. You do it for a good reason because it allows you to coordinate people and get legitimacy behind a roadmap and figure out how to upgrade and push the ecosystem forward. So they're in tough times and they could turn it around, and maybe they can pull a rabbit out of the hat, but I wouldn't bet on it. If I was sitting down and saying, do you have $1,000 to bet, how much money do you want to put in Ethereum? I'd put zero, as it stands right now, because I haven't seen anything indicate to me that they can get out of it and they can figure that out. I like the roadmap of Cardano. I think we're kind of nexus in the right place. We have the on-chain governance. We have a telescoping scalability protocol with Ouroboros, where once we add Leos, it's as fast as Solana. But if it fails for some reason, it regresses back to what we have right now, which has been running for 7+ years straight. It means the network never shuts down. It just slows down when there's attacks and things like that. But it never shuts down. I like the on-chain governance. It's evolving all the time. We have a lot of money in dry reserve, over 1.7 billion ADA ready to go to be spent to grow the ecosystem and more on the way. I like the fact that we're strong in Bitcoin DeFi and AVS, and so Midnight's launching these things. these are good things, and there's a long road to go. There's a lot of commercial work we got to do, marketing, branding, growth we got to do, but end to end, it's a strong roadmap. When I look at Ethereum, it's like a smorgasbord of stuff, of failed ideas. The Ethereum 2.0 roadmap was abandoned. They abandoned WebAssembly. They abandoned Plasma, which was their layer 2 scaling solution. Then they embraced zero knowledge, and they kind of sort of did it and said roll-ups are the future, and they went down that road for a long time. But they abandoned sharding. They always try the flavor of the week, and they kind of embrace it for a little bit, and then they just go to do something else. There's nothing coherent about it, and they've driven away a lot of their brightest people, like Gavin Wood, for example. He's a super bright guy. He did Polkadot. It's not like he created Polkadot because he was super happy with Ethereum. you know, and he was the inventor of the EVM, and Jam is really what the replacement of the EVM should be. But they didn't do that. And they had many opportunities, right, to ship and work with people. Like on the consensus side, they could have worked with Cornell and University of Maryland with Snow White, but they chose not to do that. And Elaine Shee had a whole blueprint, and we were kind of scared about that because we were like, okay, well, Ouroboros and Snow White were running, neck and neck, and we knew that team was very talented. So we figured if they worked with Ethereum, that Ethereum would have been able to bring that to market probably around 2019, 2020. They didn't do it. They went down this whole weird ass Casper exercise, and they just got it in their head that they need to do bonding and slashing and lock your funds to be able to run consensus. Well, Cardano's been running for years and years and years, 24/7, processed billions of transactions and all this money, and never been shut down, never been hacked. So maybe, just maybe, you don't actually need bonding and slashing, for this whole thing. So the core assumptions they've made about where they derive security from are just wrong assumptions, and we keep trying to tell them, and they say we're wrong. We're like, well, when does Cardano collapse then? Because we don't have a single ADA that's bonded inside our ecosystem. But
Would you ever sit down with Vitalik?
Sure.
If he called you?
No, he'll never call me. He doesn't like me, and he thinks I'm a scammer. He thinks I'm a bad actor, scammer. I don't know what I'm talking about. He's drinking the Larson Kool-Aid completely, and fine. It's just, when I'm asked, I'll comment, and I'll tell people what I think. And we haven't had a conversation in earnest in probably 7 years. We run into each other from time to time, and it's like, hey, he says, hey, and that's the extent of it. But then he's interested in privacy. Then he's interested in UTXO. Then he says maybe they need liquid staking. And then he's like, I don't know, maybe on-chain governance is a thing, but we got to figure out how to do that. So they seem to be paying attention to our roadmap. And they never, it's a crime, though, in Ethereum land to mention the C word. You can't say Cardano. So
it's crazy. Like, I think of the names: Vitalik, yourself, and Gavin. Just what you just mentioned, and I'm sure there's more names we can mention.
Yeah,
and that's like putting together an all-star team. And like, if I'm just thinking, obviously, great. We have Cardano, we have other stuff that's obviously that's on the market. That's great. But that all-star team, going back to Ethereum,
we had Joe
nobody,
Lubin, too.
Yeah,
Big Joe.
Nobody would touch you guys.
Yeah.
Like, if everybody's on the same page and playing, you guys are winning. Like, you're the Chicago Bulls.
It was the all-star team, and if we'd stay together, Ethereum would have flipped Bitcoin. But it is what it is. I was too young. Vitalik was too young. Joe had his own ideas. Gavin wanted to be the guy. He wanted to be the face of it. He wanted to be the inventor of Ethereum. And we all just did our own thing. And we achieved great success in our own way. Polkadot was a great success. Cardano is. And, it's kind of funny to look at a $25 billion ecosystem and say that was a failure. It's just such a weird space. It's such a weird space.
I'm telling you. I was going to ask you what's what would be easier, getting stung by bullet ants or participating in the crypto ecosystem when you have to talk on Spaces?
Oh my Lord. It's just because no matter what you do, you can't win. You give people an amazing thing, an amazing outcome, and you honor your commitment. You spend 10 years step by step. You say, this is what we're going to do. And you do that thing. And then everybody just complains and says, why is it not 10 times better? He's like, we started at 72 million. We're at 25 billion. We started at nothing. We had 3 million users. We have this amazing roadmap. We've delivered pretty much all of it, and we're just finishing the final parts of it. And we left behind 1.7 billion ADA at the all-time highest, $5 billion off a $72 million raise. I mean, it's like any reasonable set of entrepreneurial KPIs, that's an overwhelming success. And the brand loyalty is off the charts. You have all these VCs say, oh, Cardano's a cult. what they're saying is strong brand loyalty.
Yes.
And so we seem to have done a pretty good job, all things considered. We keep working forward, we keep pushing forward, and we do it in a very decentralized way. Um, and yet then it's a failure according to them. And that's the tough part because all my other businesses, I don't run into this. We bring back direwolf or gut glowing plants or, reverse aging or this type of stuff. We don't get this level of criticism and we don't get this level of attack. And we're very successful people. I mean, Colossal's valuation is $10 billion now. And so all these businesses we're involved in, they're doing very, very well. Crypto is the only one where no matter what you achieve, you're always a scammer, you're always incompetent, you're always wrong, you always don't know what you're doing. Um, and it is what it is.
Why?
It's very
Why is it fucking like that, Charlie?
because
Seriously.
everybody gets 100x and everybody wants 100x, and so in real land, like my clinic is a great example. I'm building this clinic and we've been building it in phases. So a year ago, we opened up the first phase. It's 10,000 square feet. We have 40 providers. We have 13,000 patients. We see 150, 200 patients a day. We're building an expansion and the expansion will be done July 4th and it'll be 70,000 square feet. And we'll see probably 300 patients a day to 400 patients a day. And we have all these new capabilities that we brought online. And everybody's like, wow, look how incredibly fast you're moving. Because normally it's thinking of the scale 5 years to 10 years to build it all out. We're doing it like a year. So we're moving at blazing fast speed. If this was crypto, they'd say it's a scam. You're too slow. We should have doubled our money already and these types of things. In medicine, it's like everybody's like, you got to slow down. It's whiplash. We can't handle this. We're yelling at regulators like, can you come and give us our fucking licenses or our TCOs or these types of things? They're like, but you just started last week. Yeah, but we're open. It's like, how did you do that? Like the concrete we poured, we worked 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. These guys actually had double shifts, 12 hours, 12 hours. We had giant lights. The neighbors were really fucking angry because they couldn't sleep because we basically had like stadium lighting out there. They're pouring concrete 24 hours a day because we didn't want to get caught up by the weather because snow's so bad up in Gillette. And so we poured probably 3 months worth of concrete work in 4 weeks. And the county was just, Jesus Christ, you guys are insane. How did you do this so quickly? We expected you to be done in like April of next year and you have it done in December. It's like fucking Christmas. You have this thing done. Um, and so I love that. And then you go to crypto, no matter what I do, like I deliver Laos tomorrow. They'll be like, why is the price not 10x? Why is this thing not happening? You close a major client. Well, that client's not large enough or they're not good enough. And it gets so demoralizing over time because at some point you say, why am I doing this? You know, I'm not really getting a lot of fun out of it. I'm not really enjoying the process. You just get beaten up and beaten up and beaten up. And you say, I have nothing to prove to anybody. And then when you
But is it
say,
but is it just a crypto Twitter thing? Because are people acting out like this on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or different social media platforms? Like that's really what it comes down to. Is it really what because what's the first application you tune into? I'm thinking you go on to X, right?
right.
And that's where all the toxicity lies,
Well,
right?
Reddit is horrible too. Reddit is just
Yeah.
a cesspit. The hatred they have for me on cryptocurrency Reddit, they've attacked everything about me as a person, and it's so deeply personal and it's so offensive. It is what it is. I mean, when I did the bullet ant ritual, they said, "Well, Charles didn't put the ants in right, and that's why he was able to do it." I mean, literally, this is what they're. It's like the chieftain did this with me, and he picked what set of gloves to give me, and I like the whole thing is videotaped. You can literally see step by step. We put it on YouTube, but no, it's I cheated somehow. It's so offensive and it's just so out there and you really it's just really just like what are we doing here? Why subject yourself to this? So that's the problem that crypto has. And like when Trump came into the space and did all this great work for us, and then everybody's complaining about it. They're like, oh, I thought Trump was going to bring the bull market and he was going to do it. We are going to get laws passed. We got Paul Atkins as the SEC chair. Ross Ulbricht got pardoned, you son of a bitches. We got the US government setting up a crypto reserve. You got nation states talking about this thing. Institutions have been told they're allowed to do this. The debanking has stopped. The people responsible, all the lawsuits got stopped. Even the crazy ones got stopped. And what more do you want? It's
But
just this is the
that,
madness of it.
my thing is like, so I understand the thesis of, the if we go back, we don't want government involved, we don't want banks involved, we don't want institutions. I get, but they're here. And guess what? We got Trump, who came into office, and he's literally, I've said this numerous times, he's laid out the foundation.
Right.
Okay, he's cleaned things up. He's brought in pro crypto people to go ahead and give us clarity so we can build here. So
Right.
builders, innovators can stay in the United States of America and build and understand, hey, this is the law, okay? This is how you can build here. We didn't have none of that. We didn't have any clarity. For 4 years, we've been choked out. And it wasn't even by Biden. He was sleeping.
I
It was
know.
by people. I don't know who the fuck was running this country, but it was people with their interest
It,
choking us out,
but
choking the innovators out, and trying to give, to me personally, they weren't trying to kill crypto. They were just trying to
yeah,
make sure that Wall Street had full control.
yeah,
Of,
and dude, it's like they can't be happy with that. Can't we just go work together and figure out how to get some laws passed and lock in all the gains so that we never have to relive the horrors of Biden? And they just focus on the negative all the time. What about Trump coin? What about World Liberty Fines? Why do you fucking care? Why? Don't
I
you
don't.
care about a solid regulatory clarity and a solid operating environment and being able to build your projects up? And don't you care about more liquidity? And don't you care about mainstream users coming in and these types of things? And you're so focused on these small things that you're not allowed to feel joy. And I think
I
that's
think.
this is the
I
big thing
think.
about the Amazon
Yeah,
rainforest
yeah,
versus our
yeah,
society.
yeah.
When I was in the Amazon, I was happy. They feel joy. They're just in the fucking moment. They're like liking life. After we take the bullet ants gloves off, the chieftain's son who did it with me, he's like, "You want to go again?" Like, "Oh, dude, I like you. You're clever." But everybody feels joy. They're all just happy and they're in the fucking moment. When we're out there spearfishing in the middle of the night, no cell phones don't work on the Amazon. You're in the fucking canopy and just paddling that boat and just really in that moment right there. You come to crypto land and any event, people instantly say, "How do I take a negative position on this event?"
Yeah.
Aliens could come down and be like, "We're buying Bitcoin," and be like, it's the Zarlocks instead of the Morbox. The Morbox are the ones that should have bought it. The Zarlocks are posers, man. It's like they just cannot find fucking joy in anything. They're miserable people, and I think it's a cultural thing because it's not just crypto, but I notice this in almost any endeavor. We noticed this with the direwolf announcement. People were like, "It's not a real direwolf."
It's AGI and the
No, no,
AI.
no. They said it's a transgenic organism. It's not a direwolf. You can't call it a direwolf because it's not a real direwolf. And I was like, okay, let me get this straight. If it dies next to a bunch of direwolves and you find the bones, paleontologists would say they're direwolf bones. If you sequence the genome, it's basically genetically identical, sans some modifications to make it survive today. Has the same skull, has the same bite strength, it looks identical to it. It can breed with them and have children with them, eats the same diet, has the same behavioral characteristics. At what fucking point are we going to call this a direwolf? Okay, and yet there's all these articles. It's like, no, they did not bring back the direwolf. No, they didn't. And then you go and talk to these environmentalists and you say, guys, okay, do you believe in global warming? And they're like, yeah. Do you think global warming is going to result in catastrophic extinction? Yeah. Okay. So is it a good idea to have capabilities to bring species back and to adapt species so they can survive? No, 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 no. That's terrible. We just all have to go live in mud huts and reject modernity and these types of things. It's like you just who are you?
These
Like
are
who hurt
liberals.
you?
Like, these are liberals, though. They're nuts. I'm telling. I don't know what happened, Charles. I really. One thing I'll say this: as we continue to grow in this space, it becomes more immature, which is
Yeah,
weird. I'm saying it as we continue to grow, we become more immature.
yeah,
Because I see it. Like, nobody gives a. It's sad because there's a lot of builders here. You're a builder. I know a lot of builders here. You got Schwartz, all these people that I get to talk to. Like, I have the opportunity to speak to them. They're building hard 24/7. They don't. You
right.
guys don't need to be here. I keep saying this to everybody. You guys don't need to be here. You don't need the
No,
stress. You don't. You could be. You could buy an island and just lay out. naked and chill.
Billionaires buying islands has gone out of style recently because of recent events.
Yeah. But it's so weird. It's like Trump. Does Trump really need to be the president? No.
No.
He's had billions. He doesn't need this.
Right.
He doesn't need to get. They tried to assassinate him twice. Maybe who knows how many more times they try to assassinate him.
Right.
Elon Musk lost $100 billion. You think he needed that? Like,
No.
you really think he needed that? No. Like, people are trying to do things out here because they want to build.
Right.
You got innovators who want to build something.
Right.
The money will always come, but it's the building part. I'm sure you're sitting right here. You love building. You just want to build something.
I just like building stuff, man.
And we don't appreciate that. It's so fucking crazy. It is crazy to me to sit here like you just said, everybody has something to say about whatever protocol. Bro, you know what? I give, I said this, I give constructive criticism. So
right.
I've talked about Bitcoin the same way I've talked about Ethereum, the same thing I talked about Cardano. I've talked about, hey, it's not that I don't like it. I'm just like, hey, what if they did this? And that's okay, right? Because like maybe you're sitting down, you hear one of us yapping, right? And you're like, oh shit, that might be a good idea. Let me look into it, right? I remember when Elon was walking with that YouTube kid, and that YouTube kid was like, hey, I think you could do this to make your rockets more efficient. And Elon stopped 3 or 4 seconds, started thinking, and said, you know what? I think you're right. It's constructive criticism. It's okay. But to completely just shit on projects in this space, it is wild to see. I don't know. I think it's harder to survive here than in the Amazon rainforest.
It is. And, the hard part for it is it's not like your product sucks. It's you're an evil person. You should be in jail. Everything you've done is false accomplishment. And I'm going to make it my mission to destroy you. I'll give you an example of how personal they make it. There's this crazy person who says that I should be removed from a paper that I wrote with Avi Loeb when we went out to the ocean and recovered those fuels. He's saying that it was academic fraud for me to be included in writing that paper. And as I've never met this person, I know nothing about him. He wrote like essays. He emailed Harvard, several journals. He even, after people started attacking him publicly, reported me to the FBI for death threats. I mean, this person's just insane. And the Harvard told him to go fuck himself. And the journal told him to go fuck himself. He's like, you have no evidence of this. And the other authors vouched that Charles did contribute to the paper. And it's very clear what my contributions were amongst like 12, 15 other authors that were on the paper. But I'm not even allowed to write a research paper now. Honestly, I'm not even allowed to write a research paper because if I write a research paper, I'm a fraud. It's so personal. And it's one thing to say it over Twitter and just shit post. It's another thing to write a formal letter and complaint to Harvard and a formal letter and complaint to a journal and these other things and provoked an investigation and have people have to give statements and other things, which obviously, because we did it properly, there's no problem, but you've wasted everybody's time. And what upside does this person have to go out of his way to go and do something like this? And that's the problem I have with the space is it's that level of personal and invasive. Every place you go, there's scrutiny. Every person you talk to, it's scrutiny. Every paper you write, there's scrutiny. And it's always from a position of you're an evil person and I have to expose you. And at some point you just throw in the towel. You're just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And you can't punch back because when you fight these guys, they're like, why are you punching down, brah? Because they're going out of their way to make my life more difficult. They're going out of their way to inconvenience people. And also, at what point do I get a good reputation? I'm a self-made billionaire at the age of 33. I built $25 billion protocol. All-time high was $100 billion. We have academic labs all around the world, 240 papers with this. I have 6 companies I run. I've done a lot of stuff in life, from sea salvage to bullet ants to the Hoskins Center for Formal Mathematics. Just like you name it, I've done it. And so I have a Rolodex the size of an encyclopedia, and I don't get to enjoy that. I'm a fraud, and everything doesn't matter, and it's all meaningless. This is their effective position that they take. And you just should ignore them. The problem is they write books, they steer the narrative, they edit the Wikipedia pages, they convince people of these types of things. Somebody wrote apparently a dossier and put it on the desk of David Sachs to say I was a
Wow.
piece of shit and delivered it to the White House. Physically was able to get it on the desk, created a lot of strife there. Say Charles is a bad actor.
That's
You, you know,
some
it's just
that's
so
some work.
personal.
That's
It's
some
so
work.
personal. It's so personal. And if it hurts your ability to do business and it hurts your ability to partner with people or to be in the room, then you have to say something about it and do something about it. And I just understand what is the fucking scam, guys? It's been 10 years. What's the scam? You fucking tell me. I mean, what did we not deliver? What did we not do? What did we say that we didn't eventually get to? Yeah, okay, we missed some deadlines. But guess what? We delivered. We have smart contracts. We have on-chain governance. We have on-chain treasury. We wrote all the papers. We know exactly how to do all the things. We wrote the code. What did we not do? Where did we defraud people? Where did we mislead investors or these things? Like point to a specific event or incident. And they say, oh, what about Ethiopia? It's like, we're literally there in a war zone for 4 years getting shot at, trying to build this fucking thing. We never got paid once. And the government went genocidal with the Tigrayans, and we were still there and still trying to make it work. I even flew in while the TPLF was marching on the Capitol to sign the deal again. And that's not good enough for you guys. We got Hyperledger Identis out of it, which we use in all our products for
Yeah.
identity and these types of things. And we have that whole team. We moved over to Kenya, and that doesn't count, for these types of things. So there's something wrong in this space. And I don't recommend people, new entrepreneurs, to come and build stuff in the cryptocurrency space. They say, should I go become a cryptocurrency entrepreneur? And I say, with this culture, with these incentive structures, with the way that people act and behave, it's really not worth it right now. Go do something adjacent to it and solve a specific problem and use crypto technology to do that. But don't go in and just try to be a Web3 entrepreneur. It's so vicious and violent and personal and just unnecessarily distasteful. And your lived experience is going to be horrible because even if you win, you lose because you're not allowed to have a victory. And then everybody just does everything in their power to try to drag you down and hurt you. And this is not the name of the game for most industries. I don't run into this in medicine. I don't run into this in construction. It's like, okay, there's Kroll and they're bidding for concrete and we're bidding for concrete and maybe we win. Sometimes they win. We're like, oh, fuck those guys. But it's not personal. You see them at the restaurant, you go, you say, hey, how's business? And you have a friendly conversation. Or in medicine, it's the same. We don't get along with Campbell County Hospital, and we have a whole bunch of issues with them. That's all right. They hire a lot of doctors that end up working for us. Yeah, so life is okay.
Yeah.
And the same for the synthetic biology world. Yeah, people complain about the dire wolf, but that's the nerds on the internet going, actually, but the company's growing exponentially.
Somebody's gonna meme that.
Yeah,
Somebody's gonna meme that, by the way.
actually,
Actually. Oh my
actually,
god.
yeah.
Oh my god, that was so soy jack just now. Oh, I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
so bad, man. Yeah, it is what it
I
is.
you say that and it's so true. Like, by the way, episode 550, sponsored by Gemini. Trade $1,000 in crypto, get $100 in Bitcoin, and powered by GNN, Gakshi News Network. Um, you say that, and I feel that just hit because, like, how do you invite your friends here who are great builders into this space? It's almost like it's almost like you're not even friends with these people because they come in here and they're gonna be ripped to shreds. Like, everybody's going to accuse them of everything, and all this shit is made up. There is nothing to go ahead and you can go ahead and bring out everything you want, Charles, but no matter what, nobody cares. Nobody. To me, it's like nobody cares for the truth at all. It's just like we're gonna
Right.
say something. I was told that David, you've been here for over 10 years and stuff. Anybody who's here for more than 10 years is probably broke, and that's why they're here. But no, it has nothing to do with me trying to build out stuff and wanting to build and participate in the market. So Warren Buffett should have retired from investing after 5 years. I'm
Yeah,
trying to understand
yeah.
the psyche of these people.
You can't win with them, right? You just can't win, and this is just the way they go. But anyway, there's still some good people in the space, and
Well,
I try to focus on the positive. I really do. And there's some weeks where it's harder than other weeks, and and there's some things that just happen that you're just like, fuck you, man, just fuck you. go to hell. But there's other weeks where you're just like, oh, okay, actually, that's pretty cool. And, and there's a lot of love still when you go to the conferences and you go to certain X spaces and, people are still inspired. They really enjoy it. And that's what keeps me fresh and keeps me going. And, I think the best days are still ahead, but we just got to get over this whole thing that everything's shit. We have to.
I think you said it right. At the conferences, everybody's normal. There's no
Right.
fighting, right? Everybody's an adult, right? You have a conversation. Crazy how that happens. But as soon as you get back on X, and it's the same people talking on X, trolling or whatever they want to go ahead and call it, they come out to a conference. It's all, hey, how's it going, buddy? Oh, I love what you're doing. Moving on to loving what I'm seeing. What do you think 14 weeks in with these tariffs and what do you think is the outcome here? Because this is really just America going against China. So what do you think the outcome here is, at the end of the day?
Well, you don't start a fight unless you're willing to have the fight. And you have to have leverage in a fight. And I think geopolitically, the trade war was a bad idea until we had more things set up. The problem is that China's got us by the balls on rare earth metals and rare earth materials as well as their processing. They have us by the balls on a lot of electronics. They have us by the balls on a lot of our supply chains. And what you need to do is strategically go through each supply chain and you go and make packs of for each of those categories, trade deals that over time de-risk China. This is what China did with us. They from 2008 on, they started systematically going through a bunch of stuff and they said, how do we reduce our reliance on the Western world? So Europe and the United States. And they
Yeah.
built that with Belt and Road. So it's gonna hurt us a lot. And now, yeah, reduce consumption in China is a problem, but what Trump is not mentioning is that the Chinese buy their own things. So
Yeah.
it's not like 100% of what they manufacture in their factory goes straight to America, and if we stop buying, they go bankrupt. They have a strong middle class. They have a lot of money. They're buying their own cars. They're buying their own manufactured products. Also, they sell to Russia extensively. 50% of the Russian GDP will be connected to China in some way. They sell to India extensively as well, and they sell to Japan, and they sell to Korea. So these are large consumption economies, and there's a lot there. And so the Chinese, they can live through a lot of pain. This is a country that starved 40 million of its own people. They're if you go and tell them, "Hey, your standard of living is gonna go to hell for 5 or 10 years for us geopolitically to get better position," they're willing to do that, whereas Trump, he has till the midterms in 2026, and if he fucks it up and the economy goes to hell, Republicans die in a landslide, and then suddenly they pass a law and override a presidential veto restricting his ability to issue tariffs. And the Chinese know that, so they're well more than prepared to go pari passu, pain for pain, with us
Yeah.
to wait out because they know his political mandate will exhaust within 1 to 2 years. So that's just a bad idea, and I think it was, the way that they went about the trade war was very weird, and it, does not really benefit us, and they like to point out all these people, manufacturing things in the United States or making deals about building things in the United States. A lot of these deals had already been decided, and a lot of these investments had already been decided, and they're just broadcasting them for political reasons. Some are new, you gotta give credit where credit's due there. But there's a better way to have gone about it, and you need an all of government approach. The problem is that Trump is thinking, I don't know if this regime will survive beyond the next 2 years where we still have political mandate power. So he's not thinking like Reagan with the Reagan coalition. We have 12 years. We can slowly, methodically roll things out. He's thinking like, okay, I need to go as fast as possible, 100 miles an hour, get as much done because the Democrats, when they come back in power, are going to instantly reverse everything that we've done. And we have to make it as permanent as we can. Why can't we just be bipartisan? Why can't we just sit down and start negotiating these things out and figure it out and find the moderate Democrats that are willing to listen and hear? Because China is an adversary, and I'd like to believe there's at least a few people on the left that agree with that
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons. And if they don't, well, then make that the only issue, and say, why do you have a political party that seems to be fighting for the Politburo in Beijing over Washington D.C.? So there's got to be like leadership there, and it can't be just we're right, you're wrong, you're evil, we're virtuous, and everything we do we're going to do 51-49 to pass it through, and we just got to get as much as we can this year because we're going to lose our mandate in 2026.
Yeah.
That's not how you lead. You have to have an all of government approach, and you have to have a bipartisan approach, and you have to have one China strategy. So why don't they have a China summit and invite all the Democratic leadership to the White House and invite all the Republican leadership to the White House, invite the governors to the White House, all of them, and say, China's our number one adversary. I want an all of government strategy. Can we all get together and agree on some doctrine for how we're going to deal with China? And let's have a frank conversation privately. So no media, no cameras, classified conversation, anything goes. We can talk about whatever we want in the White House, private, 1 week. Clear your calendars. Let's just talk about it. What are we going to do with China? That's what the Chinese did with us. In the Politburo, their 5-year plans, they had an America conversation. They brought all the people together and they're like, what's our America strategy? And they actually wrote it down. And they said, this is the America strategy that China's going to follow. So whether you're the lowest level guy or Xi, and all the way up, the whole setup, it's the America strategy. So that's my problem with the Trump administration, is that they don't seem willing to do that or able to do that. And then that means that there's no permanence behind any of these things. And Chinese know it. So all you got to do is China is just endure the pain for a year or two, and then you win by default.
Yeah.
So how's that a good strategy?
You know, I sit back and I'm like, I voted for this. And I say that. I voted for everything that's being done. Do I like everything that's being done? I said 90% of the things that have been done, I love them. 10%, I'm not a fan. And I'm allowed to do that. Even though I'm a Trump guy, you're allowed to go ahead and say, hey, I just don't like this shit. I don't know what Trump's doing, to be honest. Like, I think he's playing a game of, I personally think he's playing, he doesn't have enough time. He has, another few months to see if he can get stuff done
Right.
before, the Democrats kick up their, look what's going on. And then, midterms come along and Democrats get elected in Republican seats. I mean, I'm thinking somebody said that he's met with China today. It was reported that he's met with China today. I'm wondering if China and him, they sit down in the back channels. I know he put up the tariffs to like almost 300%. I wonder if he walks away with the 25 that he's seeking, though. That's really, was the end goal, to pick up the number really high, okay, make it obnoxiously high. And then when you come sit at the table, just arrive at the same number that you were starting out to begin with. The approach, we can all go back and forth about the approach. I can understand that. But how else is he supposed to approach it? You just said it yourself. He has to do all these things fast. He doesn't have time.
The only reason he has to do it fast is he's unwilling and unable to lead the country. You are the president of the United States, not the president of the Republican Party. And
but like,
it's not okay to call half of America evil, misguided, despicable, deplorable, and we can't reason with them and we can't lead them, and they're just and we have to just put them in a box and pretend they don't exist. If I was the president of the United States, I would try to work with all people in the United States. And what you do is you lay out basic principles. What are the basic principles? Like we talk about manufacturing. What does that mean? Is that union jobs in the Rust Belt? Is that ununionized jobs in the South? Is that robots making things? What are we going to manufacture? We talk about mining and resource extraction. Is that every resource? Are we going to start mining neodymium and lithium? Are we going to mine uranium? What are we doing? And if so, what is the national strategy for all of that? And how do we roll that out? And who are the winners and losers in that strategy? We talk about the whole stack, the intellectual property issues. We talk about how are we going to build computers here and iPhones here, all these types of things. You bring industry together, and all these CEOs, they run trillion-dollar companies. They have economists that work for them. They have strategists that work for them. They're governments unto themselves. And you have access as the president of the United States to all these people. You can call up Tim Cook and say, come to the White House. You can call up Michael Dell and say, come to the White House. You can call Jeff Bezos and say, come to the White House. And you can say, okay, well, I want an all-America approach. Here are my strategic goals. Every year, 5% more made in America. How do we make that happen? Every 14 years, we double the amount of stuff made in America. I want to reduce the amount of consumption from China on all things across the board. So give me alternative countries that I can purchase from. And would you commit to making strategic investments in those countries so that we can do that? If we can't make it here, we can do it there. So maybe we buy from Bangladesh or Vietnam, or maybe we buy from Mongolia. Who the fuck knows? But the CEOs will know because they have all the people. And then you bring the left in too, and you have that conversation with them. And it's a horse trading exercise. That's what leadership is about. You bring people you don't like together. Like if Vitalik Buterin called me tomorrow and said, "Let's do something together, Ethereum and Cardano." You think I'm gonna slam the phone and say you're an evil asshole and you're a horrible person? I don't want to talk to you because all the mean things you and Lars Shin said about me? I'd pick up the phone. And I'd say, "Okay, well, what do you wanna do?" And they said, "Well, we wanna co-develop, the privacy stuff together. Do you wanna work on snarks with us?" "Sure. Let's have a workshop. Let's talk about it." And actually, that did happen once. We had the QSIG, the quantum workshop that we did with the Ethereum Foundation, the only joint thing we've ever done with the Cardano Foundation and the Ethereum Foundation, and we did it in Scotland. Not exactly we're the best buddies, right? But we saw common interest there. That's what leaders do. They find common interest, they build consensus, and they have a clear, understandable strategy. Not, "It's in my head, and I'm so smart, I can outsmart everybody." It's a clear, understandable end-to-end strategy. And you just go by vertical, by vertical, by vertical. Quantum computing, synthetic biology. You can look at biotechnology, medicine, education, vertical by vertical by vertical. And the problem is they have structural advantages over us. Their cost per pupil is lower. Their healthcare cost is lower. Their retirement burdens are lower. Their infrastructure cost and maintenance is lower. They have hundreds of thousands of miles of high-speed rail. They have millions of miles of much better power lines than we do. They have so many things that they've built over the last 30 years, pound for pound, that's actually better than what we currently have. So if we're gonna compete, the problem is they know where to put pain with us. And in the construction business, I see this. When they wanna compete, suddenly it takes me 12 months to get HVAC equipment. When they wanna compete, suddenly it takes me 8 months to get my 800 amp electrical cabinet. Okay, and how's that good for me? And how's it good that now my construction cost for things I'm building goes up 35%, 40%? How does that help me? And the Chinese don't pay that because they make it and they get it for free, or they get it at a reduced cost with their damn slave labor that they have with Belt and Road. And they've been doing this for 30, 40 fucking years. And so I'm willing to sacrifice, but I have to have a reasonable expectation of what the sacrifice is for. It's like paying taxes. If the taxes are going towards a public good and we can all see it being constructed, maybe we're happy about that. If it's going to transgender midgets in Nicaragua to watch Sesame Street, maybe we're not so happy about that. And that's the point. You have to know where your tax dollars are going. You have to know why you're sacrificing. What are we actually putting money into the pot for? So if I'm paying 30% more to build something, what am I paying that 30% more for? A trade war that maybe it's over in 6 months, or maybe just stays permanent and the Chinese burn us out we'll reduce America's reliance on China. Great. And what do we do in the 10 to 15 years it requires to retool? And also, if it's a sum zero thing, are the people in Asia going to go with America or with China? Are they going to go in the Middle East, going to go with America, or are they going to go with China? When the United States went to the Middle East, to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they threatened and bullied the monarchs there. And they said, if you don't back us on Russia, we're going to sanction you and take your money away. When China goes there, they say, here's all these free things we're giving you. We want to be your friends. So if you're the king of Abu Dhabi, you're like, well, one group of people try to chop my dick off and the other group of people trying to stroke my dick. I don't know about you, man, but I kind of like the dick stroking guy, not the dick chopping guy. And so that's what we've done. We did the same with Switzerland. We went to Switzerland and said, you need to attack the Russians. So they did. They lost $50 billion of Russian money cut out of their economy. And it's a small nation. That's a lot for them. So then they come to us and say, so how do we get those $50 billion back? Are you going to cover that? Because we just lost that business permanently. And we told them to go fuck themselves. They don't forget that. And then China comes and they say, we'll never do that to you. We're your friend. We're your bestie. And it's consistent leadership. So when you're dealing with China, you know that the guy doesn't change. The voice doesn't change. The policy doesn't change. With America, we'll have a new policy in 2 years. And we'll have a new policy in 4 years. It's schizophrenic. We go from Joe Biden giving them a blowjob to Donald Trump tariffing them. So what if it goes back to the Democrats? It's more swallow your pride. And so if you're a third party and you're watching this whole thing, why in God's name would you side with the United States? Because you have no idea if there's any consistency there. Look at Zelensky. He could go to the White House and just walk in like big man Zelensky and walk out with $100 billion. Then he walks in the White House and JD Vance just chops his dick off. And they're like, we want $500 billion of your natural resources. And we want this and this. And maybe we fund you. Maybe we don't. Maybe we leak your location to the Russians. Who knows? You know, and you're just like, holy shit, I thought you guys were my best friends. It's like, yeah, well, that was one administration ago. So people know this when they look and they make a decision, do I follow the US or not? So if we're going to make it sum zero and it's us or China, you have China saying it's consistency, not going to change. It's going to be this way. Here's what you get. Here's what we get. By the way, we're not going to tell you to have the LGBTQ flag up there. We're not going to tell you how to run your government. If you want to be a dictator, we're totally cool with that. America comes in. We say, we want to run your social policy. We want you to set up a financial panopticon and spy on your own people and give us all the data. We want you to host our military bases. We want you to back us on any conflict. We want you to dollarize and take all of our debt and deal with the inflation there. We want you to sign predatory trade deals that are not in your favor, that only benefit us. We want you to do all this stuff and just take the dick. And oh, by the way, if there's ever a conflict and it's going to hurt your economy, to benefit us, you have to do that, or else we pull the rug out from underneath you. And they're just like, why would I sign up for this if I don't have to? And the thing is, China's military is growing by leaps and bounds. And if they get to that point to invade Taiwan and win, then no one fears the American military anymore because the Chinese military is bigger and scarier. So we don't have that cudgel. That's our last mile that we have with this. So if you're going to do this, you have to do it right. And you have to be strategic as hell. You have to have all of government. You have to have the same time horizons as the Chinese. The State Department has to be engaged. You have to reset the relationships and give consistency to our allies. And you have to have one voice and one strategy that doesn't change through administration by administration. And otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time and money with these things. And I just see all these idiots comment, he's playing 3D chess. He's a leader. He knows what he's doing. He's got it all figured out. It's like, okay. So explain exactly what you want to happen. In 2030, what do you want to happen? What are the KPIs? What are the industry verticals? What are we actually trying to achieve here? Give me numbers, give me strategies on paper that I can read and critique and understand. Have we gotten a single document from the White House that said this is our China strategy, what we seek to achieve, and how we're going to win? Meanwhile, the Chinese write it down. They literally have it. Every 5 years, they write it down, their Politburo, and they have an America section in it. And they actually literally say, this is what we want to achieve. We've never written it down once in a way that anybody agrees with.
To leave it here, I just want to say that obviously I disagree on just a few things, just because we finally get a leader that, whether we want to, obviously we can agree to disagree on his approach, right? But we've had Democrats screaming about China and how China is doing like word for word, how China is bad and how they're, monopolizing everything, and we need to put tariffs on them. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, all of them live in the Senate talking about, House and Senate talking about these issues. And here comes Trump and he's saying, okay, I'm going to go and do exactly what we've all been talking about for years. We want to talk about the approach, that's fine. We could talk about it all day long. But here comes somebody saying, like, okay, we'll tariff everybody just like they tariff us. I mean, Charles, a lot of people didn't know that, like, America is being tariffed. We got vet taxes. We got special regulations in order to bring in cars. Japan had special regulations in order for us to bring in an American car. In order, I mean, like, I get it. Japanese probably, somebody said they went to Japan and they have never seen an American car out there. So I understand, but
Yeah.
like, when do we get to sell our products? And when do we get to participate in this healthy competition? We're not. We're buyers.
Right.
Everybody unloads their shit onto us.
Well, that's
It's
why I'm not
something that
criticizing it for
didn't
Europe.
Clinton do this? I mean,
Yeah.
Clinton invited China in.
Oh,
He
yeah.
put them into play.
Oh my God, Clinton made so many mistakes with that, as did H.W. Bush. We probably could have overthrown the government after Tiananmen Square, and we missed that window.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with what he's done in Europe. I think that is actually quite sensible. We have a lot more cards there, and we can force them to consume American goods tariff-free, and those are deals we can make. And those are deals we can make in South America, and those are deals we can make in Africa. But you gotta, with China, understand where your leverage points are, and you got to understand, like, how do we build it in a way. And if they've taken the time to spend 30 years to figure out how to fuck us, we're not going to, with a single executive action, undo their 30 years of fucking
Well,
us.
and I agree with that, and
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that at all.
and
It takes
also
time,
you have
100%.
the problem is what Trump is doing is he's like, I will save them all. You can't do that. As a CEO, you run a business, or a leader, you run a government. There's certain things you're really good at, and you're excelling. There's certain things you're just not so good at. And you have to make some hard decisions about where do you cut and where do you emphasize. So we have to have a national strategy about what industries does America want to be competitive in. It can't be everything. We have to pick some industries we say we really think we can be rock stars in these types of things. And it's been financial services, it's been retail stuff, it's been the sales economy, it's been technology, especially ICT. We've been world leaders there. Our
Yeah,
manufacturing star is waning. We can get
yeah,
it back, but that requires low cost of raw materials, low cost of labor, low cost of energy. We have a national strategy to make energy cheap. One of those pillars is good. National strategy for humanoid robotics, that pillar gets really good. Raw materials, well, either we're going to get it from space, we're going to get it from South America, Africa, or North America. Where are we going to get it from? There's enough in North America to do it. There's enough in Russia to do it. So you got to pick where you want to get the raw materials from. And that's what China did. They went to Africa and they went to Central Asia, and they exploited all of that. So we got to make some decisions about these things. And then if you do 10 years of that stuff, then you have all the foundations required for cheap manufacturing. We could be the world's factory again, like we were at
yeah,
the turn of the 19th to 20th century. That's a strategy and a clear vision. So then you go and say, we need to rebuild the national power grid. We need to rebuild our infrastructure. We need to build new power plants. All these humanoid robotics people, let's bring it together. We're going to beat China in that race. Let's form a coalition with the Japanese and the Koreans and the Europeans. Let's have free trade for all these things, get all these ideas together, get everybody working together. We got to beat the Chinese on humanoid robotics. And the Chinese are investing very heavily. We just do ham-fisted things. Like we ban the AI chips. So all those NVIDIA chips can't go to China. And then suddenly, what do the Chinese do? They create DeepSeek as a way to get around it. And then they're putting $100 billion a year into fabrication facilities. 100 billion. Our CHIPS Act, which took forever to pass, was 50 billion one-time subsidy, and they're putting 100 billion per year in this. If you look at the curve, it means they'll be able to match what Samsung can do and TSMC can do by about 2029 to 2031. And at that point, they will make 5 to 10 times as many chips as the rest of the world combined. And they have all the rare earth materials, which
yeah,
means not only can they make them, they can prevent Korea, Taiwan, and the United States from getting the supply chains that they need, which means we pay 4 to 5 times as much money to make the chips. So we will structurally never be competitive because we don't have the raw materials. So if you have a China strategy, the first question you ask is, how do I secure those resources and prevent them from being in the Chinese hands? And how do we process them? That's just one of dozens of things you got to figure out in this strategy. So maybe there's some guy at the White House doing it, but I don't see any evidence of it. I don't see any reports being drafted. I don't see any legislation being drafted. I don't see any meetings with the right people. I don't see the right CEOs going and meeting with the White House to discuss this. Instead, they're just like, we're just going to tariff. And the Chinese say, we have large stockpiles of cash. Our people can basically work for free if we tell them to, because we're an authoritarian government. We're not going to have a revolution over it. And, if we have to suffer for this, we'll suffer. Are you guys prepared to suffer? How many Americans are prepared to lose their homes over this? How many Americans are prepared to lose their jobs over this? How many Americans are prepared to take a 30% pay cut over this type of stuff, or their business to go out of business? Maybe there's some, but do you think the totality of America is prepared for that level of pain, pari passu with the Chinese? And if they're not, then why are we getting in that fight? In World War II, when we were in the fight, everybody sacrificed. My grandmother,
yeah,
she had ration booklets. I actually saw them in the basement where we're cleaning out the basement after they moved in the home. And that was like booklets they give you for how much you could buy of any one thing. So, how much tin you could buy and how much gas you could buy and other things. And you had to have the coupons and the money. Every person in America was in a state of total war and sacrifice to win the war. That was our mentality, which is why we were so lethal in World War II and so
yeah,
vicious, because the whole country was rowing the boat in the same direction. But
yeah,
right now we have a boat where the left oar isn't rowing at all. And we're only rolling with the right oar of the boat. And we're calling it leadership. And we're like, don't worry, we're rowing in the right direction. And the left oar is going to start rowing in the opposite direction. You know what happens when you row the oars in the opposite? You spin the boat. You don't make any forward progress at all. And so why do it? That's my only point about it. If you're going to do it right. And at least that's how I think as a CEO. If you're going to pick a fight, go win the fight, win the war, and get everybody rallied for that.
I hope that the left, can stop, giving speeches for 25 hours in a chamber, 24, what was it, 25 hours and 4 minutes, and maybe come to the table and not say bad Trump, and, just acknowledge him as president, and then they can all have a conversation. Perfect world type of thing. We can't even get along in crypto. And we're talking about,
Yeah.
them trying to get along in the Senate and the House. But I do finally appreciate you coming back onto the show. I am glad that you had a great experience in the Amazon, doing a dance with bullet ants stinging you at the same time. And definitely appreciate your takes. And looking forward to speaking to you in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, hell yeah, man. There's ups and downs, goods and bads. This was our therapy session for the last 2 weeks. We got to shoot the shit, talk about all the things, but I'm an optimist. And in closing, I think the world is going to be okay. We're
Yeah.
going into some hard times, and it is what it is. We had a lot of good times. You can't have
Yeah.
good without bad. But all things considered, you got Chat GPT. You got quantum computers on the horizon. We got the dire wolf back, man. We got a lot of cool stuff that's coming on the horizon, and crypto's winning. It's a $3 trillion economy. It's going to be a 10, $15 trillion economy before the end of the decade. And there are a lot of great entrepreneurs that are coming out of this with a very clean slate perspective on, what to do and where to go. And
Yeah.
leaders come all the time, and bad times make great leaders. So as we get into these bad times, new leaders are going to come in. They're going to
Yeah.
emerge, and they're going to be different, and they're going to have very fresh ideas. And we'll get out of this left-right paradigm, and we'll start getting back to, why don't we start solving problems? Like I was interviewed by Le Monde. It's one of the oldest papers in France. It's a very good paper. And I said,
I saw that.
yeah, the number one problem with politicians is we don't pay them for performance. I said, you know what? As a taxpayer, I would be very glad to take 1% of the revenue of the country and put it into a bonus pool. And if the politicians that run the country achieve KPIs, they get the bonus. I would pay for that in a fucking
I would
heartbeat.
too. That's not a bad idea at
Yeah.
all.
Because you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, then Democrats, Republicans are going to get along instantly because they'll make so much more money achieving KPIs than they will do from like side graft and corruption. Imagine if you get a $50 million bonus or $100 million bonus as a senator or a congressman, and we can afford to pay that as a country.
Of
Really,
course.
really can, especially if they hit KPIs like grow our GDP by 5% per year, and we'll give each congressman a $10 million bonus. These sons of bitches will be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, bipartisan in each other's offices saying, how the fuck did we do this? How do we pull this off? But instead, what we do is we pay them like shit. We pay them 150K a year. And then we're like, you have to be virtuous. You can't trade stocks. You can't do this. You can't do that. And we pretend, like it's like charity. And then we get a
Mhm.
shit product. And we say, well, guys, that's what you're paying for. You created an incentive structure where they make money if they fight each other. Create an incentive structure where they only make money if they work together for this
And
type of.
PACs pay them millions of dollars. That,
Exactly.
that's what we did. That
Yeah.
that God bless America, man.
And it's
Yeah,
so
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. In the future, I think we're gonna have a lot of people rise up, the younger generation rise up and be able to work together
and
towards
that's one of
making
the
a
things
United States, a
Trump did with
united.
Trump coin, because that's where it came up when we were talking about Trump coin. They're like, "Oh, isn't that bad?" And I was like, "Well, it's kind of a prediction market on, how powerful Trump is, and the value goes up if people think Trump's the guy, the value goes down if they don't." We're starting to get to that proto, like your job performance has in some way a financial incentive for you.
Yeah,
You have a political tracking token for
yeah.
them. So why don't we just formalize these kinds of concepts and build it in such a way that people get pretty happy with it? Invest them just like we do publicly traded companies. Lisa Su goes in the AMD. It's $2.5 billion company, nearly out of business. Now it's $250 billion, and they're larger than Intel, and they're one of the most powerful tech companies in the world. She did a pretty good job, and now she's a billionaire because of what she did. Okay, and she only got to be a billionaire because she saved the company and grew the company. So we should do that with politicians and pay
I'm
them.
down. I am down for my taxpayer money to go to something that will actually make this country great. 100%. Totally would be down with that.
Yep.
Freak. I changed my job title and just run for a seat in the House or Senate.
Yeah, and
Uh,
everybody would, like, major CEOs would. They say, "I don't wanna go to private. I wanna go where the action's at. I'm gonna make some money. Make America
exactly.
great." Imagine our education KPIs. We say if you get your cost per pupil under $2,000, all the people in the leadership get $5 million bonuses. They will be up every fucking day saying, like, "How the fuck I pull this off? We gotta figure this out," and we
That's
just
wild.
save so much money. Our GDP would be growing. The country would be great. So new blood's gonna come in, and that's what's gonna happen, and that's the one good thing about Trump is he's like this giant wrecking ball, and after he's done wrecking everything, you have all these pieces, and everybody has to have a decision about how do we put it back together, and the old
Yeah.
guard are all dead. They're all, like, in diapers. You got Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell. They're all going away. They're the '70s, '80s. They're not gonna be relevant in 4 or 5 years. So young people like JD Vance's or others are coming in, Shapiro over in Pennsylvania, and they're going to have a radically different view on how to do all this stuff, and that's our opportunity to, actually make meaningful changes and put all these things together. And I just hope that we realize that not everybody's the enemy. I have plenty of friends on the left, and I think they're fine people, and we got to get back to like we're Americans instead of we're all against each other, and I have to pick a tribe.
I totally agree with that. And I appreciate you coming on, Charles. Next, the week after this, we'll be back on Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll dive deeper into crypto. We'll see where the markets are at. The markets are doing well, they're holding up well. And hopefully that continues. That trend continues. Charles, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on. Always insightful. Cheers. Guys, man. Let me go ahead and play something, man. Let me play get back to hold on, let me pause that real quick. Let me pause that. Look, I'm gonna say this also, because I know what some people are thinking. I know what some people are thinking. Some people are like, hey, why don't you push back on some of the things? So here's the thing. You let people speak. You really do let people speak, even though sometimes, hey, there are a few things that I didn't agree about. I didn't agree about a few things, and that's totally fine. But that's what I like having these conversations. I like when people come on here, especially with Charles. He gives his thoughts. A lot of his thoughts are W takes. Some of them, again, I just don't agree with. I don't agree with them, and that's fine. That's fine. And that's where America has to go and get back to, where we can have the agree to disagree type of conversations, adult like conversations, and continue to work to make this country better. That's it. And the same applies kind of for crypto too. You can have a conversation, you can talk about protocols, you can talk about all these things, and you can walk away like adults saying, I GG's good conversation. It's crazy to see how we destroy things in our own ecosystem and we don't cheer for them to work out. It is. Sit back for a second. We cheer for failure in a space that is so young where we need these protocols to succeed in order for others to come here to participate and build out some other cool shit within this industry. So rooting for something to fail is craziness. And Charles is right. Charles is right. Every single day you log into this app, somebody just like, why would you ever invite anybody here? I would never invite anybody here. As of like the last few months, I'm thinking to myself, why would I invite anybody or encourage anybody to come and build here? It's crazy. They welcome you for 3 minutes and then the next minute they're trying to take your legs out. They're trying to take you out. It's wild. It is wild. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And I have said this for years. Social media and then you put money into the equation, it makes for a hell of a combination of toxicity. Social media is already toxic. You put money into it, people lose money. It's chaos. It is everybody's a scammer, everybody's a grifter, everybody's this, that, and the third. Everybody in this. Satoshi Nakamoto is a scammer. Okay? You even hear that. That's crazy. Where people have gone to levels to just say that Satoshi's fucking a grifter and a scammer. And he still lives amongst us. Still scamming till this day, which is wild. It's wild. It's wild. It's wild. Why is it so difficult? I'm going to leave you with this. Why is it so difficult for people to work with each other? Why can't you put your ego to the side? Why can't you put your pride to the side and work together? Even if you have different entities, work with each other. Try it. Healthy competition is good competition. Means that you're leveling each other up in your field. Means for a better product for the general public. Try to work with each other. Try to act like you act outside. Try to act like when you go to a conference, try to act the same way on social media. Give it a try. Give it a try. Again, shout out to Charles. Thank you very much, Charles, for coming on. This is episode 550, the breakdown. We're heading towards 600. Unofficially, definitely over 1,000, but officially 550. Of course, partnered and sponsored by Gemini. Gemini, trade $1,000 in crypto, get $100 in Bitcoin. Shout out to everybody signing up to Gemini. Check out that credit card. I am going to speak more about that credit card because not enough people are speaking about it because it is a great tool. GNN, the Gakshi News Network. Tune in to all our personalities, to all our shows. We have more media personalities coming. Stay tuned. We got big news too. Let us wait for it to come and let the ink dry. But on that note, thank you so much. Have an amazing day. It is 70 degrees. I am taking my keys and I am going out. And I'm going to drive a little bit, and I'm going to see you later on one of these shows. Guys, if you want to know about the shows, check out the GNN account, or you can check out the Gakshi account and tune in, especially if you're looking to get some insight on crypto. On that note, I'm out.